Are you deathly afraid of public speaking? Are you one of those people that have convinced yourself that one-on-one presentations is great because you're really good at it and you totally avoid the stage? Welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. My conversation with you tonight is reasons why the sale is hidden in your story. We're going to talk about storytelling, we're going to talk about presentations, but we're going to talk about tips for finding the sale hidden in your story. Now, this conversation is for you if you want to understand why communication and presentation skills are the number one skill of successful people. It's one of their top skills. Also, if you want to understand how to increase your income by taking the front of the room or learning how to tell a story, this conversation is for you. So as you jump on, I'm going to ask you to do what I usually do. Let us know who you are, exactly where you're joining us from, and who you are called to serve, what you do while you're living, and who are your people. So definitely let us know that. Also, I'm going to ask you to start commenting. Put whatever brought you out today in the comment section. If you have a burning question that you would like us to answer, let us know what that question is. Also, please go ahead and bless a life. Share this to your page, share it to a group you belong to, share it to your group, share it to a friend or a colleague where you're thinking they have been sitting on the fence about presenting, and I really want them to get this conversation. Bless a life, bless 5 lives. It's the magic number. Now, if you're listening to the replay, definitely hashtag replay. Yes, go ahead and hashtag replay. I am so grateful you're here. Thank you for joining us. And even though it is the replay, let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, what you do while you're living, and who you are called to serve. Who are your people? And when you love what you hear, go ahead and bless a life. Share this live. Share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends, share it to your page, tap someone on the shoulder and say, you've got to listen to this. I am so excited. So I'm going to get this party started. Right? So this conversation is definitely for you. If you're wondering why is communication and presentation skills the number one skill of successful people, it's also for you if you want to earn more money in your business by leveraging one presentation. This is all about taking the front of the room. This conversation is definitely for you if you want to learn why there's a sale hidden in the middle of a story. Our topic today, tips for finding the sale hidden in your story. Welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. My name is Susanna Hart, and each week I bring you with my breakthrough strategies to help you reset your thinking. Now, you can see I got my good friend, social media strategist, Taria Hodge, in the house with me today. She's in my house. I am so excited. She came to Canada to hang out with me for a little bit of time. So you might see her again right here in my home. So welcome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me and having me in your home and then having me once again on an Unstoppable Mindset. I can't wait for our conversation this evening.
Oh, me and you both. So how's Canada treating you?
Oh, Canada is treating me very well. I have to say, I love the people across the border. They're really, really, really nice. Lots of hospitality.
Yeah. and how about the surroundings? Because I tell people Thousand Islands, God's country.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
You know what? It was so beautiful. To just drive across the border. The entire drive was just beautiful, but coming across the border, coming across the bridge, I don't even know if it was a lake or a river, but I saw a body of water and it was absolutely beautiful. So I can't wait to see more.
You saw the mighty St. Lawrence. So we're giving people tips about where I hang out. So that's more than enough. All right. So I want to get this topic started because both you and I
Mhm.
were reluctant to take the front of the room. We were reluctant to take the stage. And I know I was encouraged by a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Smith,
Mhm.
and then by Mr. David T. Wood. And then David worked with me, and I found out I actually liked the front of the room. I love the front of the room. It was like, it became my
Your
playground.
playground.
Absolutely. And I remember kind of encouraging you and giving you that friendly nudge to begin to take the front of the room. Now, you work with coaches,
Yes.
consultants,
Yes.
authors,
Yes.
right? And why do you now believe that it is the number one skill? It is the top skill that we all must master.
Yeah, so there's several reasons why. The first one I'm going to start off with is you have to master communication. That's the first thing. So as an entrepreneur or business owner, if you're out there thinking like your business is going to grow, you're going to have a massive audience, you're going to have, a client roster that's full, but you are reluctant to speak, I am here to tell you that it's not going to happen. So that, is actually part of my story. It was one of the things that I reluctantly did. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I realized that, my business wasn't growing. Okay. So there are several different reasons. One of them is exposure, being able to, communicate and then get your business out there, have more people know who you are, what you do. Like I say it all the time, who do you serve in your business? And then you want to be able to serve in such a way that you are attracting your ideal clients or your divine clients. And one of the best ways to do that is through speaking and sharing stories.
It's so true. I want to talk about speaking and presenting for a moment, because one of the things that also began to happen to me was, I have a great command of language. I love language. I love words. However, I didn't have great command of messaging. And one of the things I began to realize as I did more and more presentations was that it forced me to tighten up my messaging. It had my messaging become a lot clearer. And I was really intentional about who I was speaking to, how my message was landing, what stories I told. And I think when people think that they're going to speak and take the front of the room, there's this thing about, well, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to kind of wing it. And I know what I do. Talk a little bit about how crafting that story and crafting your message, how has it shifted your business?
Yeah, so totally, because I was that person, once again, first, reluctant to speak.
Right.
And then when I started speaking, one of the things that, I said to myself, well, I know what it is I'm doing. Right. And so it should be easy for me to go ahead and share with, my audience, the things that I do and how I help them. But there was a missing. And so one of the things that I realized is that I spent a lot of time talking about the actual things that I do in my business, like the how, the technical pieces in the business. And, it was almost like over the head. And I could tell when I'm losing people. And it wasn't until I really started to, first of all, get present. Like, what's the story? What's the brand story? What's the why? Why do I do what I do? Why is this so important, for me to show up and do this, on a regular, consistent basis, brave through all of the challenges.
Right.
And then as I went through my story and I understood the story and learned that the messaging comes from the story, and I started to share that, like, things automatically shifted. I started to attract, the right people, in my business. And I was just like, oh, speaking went from that thing where I was deathly afraid of to, you know what? This could actually be fun.
Yeah. I know for me, when I got it, it was like, this is it. This is so much fun. So let me ask everyone that's listening, how many of you, when you present, you're really focused on the how and the what you do? And you're talking about skill sets, you're teaching, you're providing great information. because that's what most presenters do when they take the stage. You know, I'm reading this book and they talk about death by PowerPoint and death by information. And that when people take the stage, they've got so much information that they want to impart to their audience that it is actually not the thing. And so if that's you, what we're going to do is we're going to turn things on its head a little bit today. Because one of the things that I learned as I started presenting, and I know you've come to understand this, is that people don't care about what you do. Mm-hmm. They don't even care about how you do it.
Right.
Until they know why you do it. Now, this is the other important thing. In why you do it, for a lot of people, it must align with their why, their reason. Yeah. And so we're busy telling the how and the what and giving all our good details. But the first thing that's missing is people are like, I don't know you. I don't know why you do it. And I don't know if you understand my pain, my challenge, my struggle. And until you do, well, your information's good, but I'm not going anywhere with you.
Yeah. You know, and it's one of the biggest distinctions, right? Because one of the things that, you know, I got really present to is that, you know, there are so many people out there, thousands, hundreds of thousands even of people who do social media and provide social media services. So what is the thing, right, that makes me attractive? What is the thing that makes me sticky to the people who I'm called to serve? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, you know, once again, you know, understanding the story and getting the messaging out there and putting the messaging out there, people started to say, oh my gosh, that's me. So one of the things that I talk about in my story is how to show up and shine, right? And how to stop hiding. And it wasn't until I started to put that out there, people started to say, oh my gosh, that's me. Yes, I'm hiding out, and I'm hiding out, you know, for so many different reasons. And once I started to share, you know what, that has been my experience as well. And these are the things that I have learned how to do, you know, to kind of walk you through that. Then I start to find like the right fit clients.
And this is so good. This is so good. And I want someone to put in the comment section, success is an experience. Mm-hmm. It's not a place. It's not achieving a goal. It is not something somewhere you get to. Success is the experience. So when a client talks about a successful person, they're really wanting to connect with the experience that got you successful. They want to connect with the journey. Yeah. They want to know what you went through to get there. And because in your experiences, they find and see themselves. Yeah. That is one of the key reasons that story works, and presenting in a storytelling fashion. Now, notice I'm saying presenting in a storytelling fashion before you present information. And often, and sometimes in place of information. So what they're looking for is, what's your experience on the journey? And does it line up with my experiences that I'm having now, the places I'm stuck, the places I'm struggling, the pain that I'm having? Does it line up? That's really what they're looking for. And when you and I are able to do that, I'd say to people, you get bought. People buy you. And if they buy you, they will buy from you.
Yeah, exactly. People must buy you before they buy from you. And it's one of the things, Suzanne, as I started to, you know, work on story and pay attention to story and pay attention to messaging, it's one of the interesting things that I found when I look at, you know, other, you know, top influential brands. They're people that we all love to follow, right? And one of the things that I don't think I ever caught it before, but I definitely paid attention to it. You notice they never talk about how they do what they do in their business. So the connection to their audience is always through story. It's always through experiences, and it's always sharing with, you know, their audience or their clients even, you know, because I've gone through this, right? This is the connection. This is how I'm connecting to you. Now I'm showing you what the transformation is like. And so you just said it before, like, people don't want to be inundated with information. What they're looking for is that guide to guide them through the transformation.
Absolutely. And they want to know that you have been where they are and that you can lead them through transformation. I love it. So I want to talk a little bit about, one thing I say, and I've been saying it for probably the past year or so when I figured it out myself, is there's a sale hidden in the story.
Yes.
And I think it's actually the most important sale because this sale is about the people in the audience, the person you're presenting to, purchasing the distinction, which is you. And so this is what I learned, particularly when I was on my network marketing journey, is, if you belong to a company, there's thousands of distributors, right? And millions of distributors for some companies, hundreds of thousands of distributors. And you've got to define yourself from every other distributor. And one of the key things they tell you in network marketing is master the art of telling your story. Why? Because your story is this definer. It separates you from everyone else. And in there, how you tell your story, there is a sale that happens where you get bought by the person sitting in front of you. Now, I'm not talking bought in a disrespectful way. What I mean is they get enrolled in who you are and your journey and who you've become. So Tria, can you articulate from your learning where the sale is in the story?
Yeah, I was just about to say, you could almost feel it.
Yeah.
And you could almost hear it, once you get present to it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that, like you said, I know we're talking about speaking and public speaking and speaking from the stage, but one of the things that I want people to get, this is in all communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all communication. And so if even if you're on the phone, or even if you're out, you're networking and you're speaking with someone, once again, is that sharing of experiences, is that letting people know, hey, look, I get you. And because I get you, I got you. And that's what people want to hear. That's what people want to know, right? And it's almost that thing, like you feel it, when that guard comes down, right? And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is my person. This is the person that I want to take me through this. And I have to say, I have to bring it back, because you asked the question, like, how does it happen? And I'm going to go back to talking a little bit about experience as well. And so, I can't talk about experience and not talk about social media. And this is why social media and story is so important. So when I take a look at social media and story, it's like all one big storyboard.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
And so it's a whole lot more than what we say coming out of our mouth, but people are looking and they could actually see the transformation that you're going through.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay? And so, they're like, you know what? I'm watching you do this and I've seen you do this. Like, you're my person. That experience that you have and that experience that you're creating, for yourself or for your business, that's the type of experience that I want to have as well. And that's the connection. And if you allow me to share,
absolutely,
that was one of the things that attracted me to work with you. Because once you started to share your story, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, we are on the same page. So definitely, you are the person that I need to connect with, right? Because everything that you shared with me in your story led me to believe that you could take me to the places where, I desire to go. And before then, I have never met a coach who, built a business the way how I desired for my business to be built or to have a business, right? And so once again, the connection was story. Now you didn't share with me what you did. You didn't tell. She didn't tell me all the hard work that I was going to be doing.
That's after. That's after. That's after. Keep that on the down low. You're saying, you're highlighting something really key, because I don't know about anyone else, but if networking was something you didn't like, just put didn't like in the comment section. Yeah. So I know for myself, when I first got into this whole game of entrepreneurship, network marketing, the whole bit. And they would tell me I had to go network, and I had to go to these networking events and these networking meetings. I so didn't like it, because I watched people attempt to sell people they didn't know. Yeah. And so it would be, hello, my name is such and such, my business is this, and blah, 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 blah. And it was like the sale. And I just thought, wow, yeah, I don't want to be part of this. No. And so networking for me was painful. And every time I would do what I saw other people doing, it was like, oh, this feels horrible. And then people would give me these scripts and these things I needed to say. And even the elevator pitch, I will tell you, not so much for Suzanne. Yeah. And then I started dissecting storytelling, and I started dissecting and looking at my experience and looking at my journey. And then I said to myself, Suzanne, you're going to go network, and the one goal you have is to make two friends, two potential people that you're going to add to your peer list, your friend list, I want to know better list. And what began to happen, True, was when we would connect, I would share an experience. Yeah. I would share a story. I would share my journey. I would share all sorts of things. And it'd be like fireworks. Oh yeah, me too. Oh my goodness. Da, da, da. And all this would happen. And then the person would say, let's stay in touch. And we would exchange information. And what would occur was the more I shared story, the more I shared experience, whether the experiences were my pains, my struggles, the more I helped them understand their struggles, it was almost like the sale happened and I didn't know. Yeah. And people started going, so what's it take to work with you? What exactly do you do? How can I get to work? They started asking, and it was like, wow, how is this happening? Well, how it was happening was I was connecting in this important place, which was you're hearing my experience, you understand my experience, you've been on a journey that reflects my experience, possibly you can help me. But it wasn't a salesy process. It was just this fun, easy peasy conversation.
Yeah, I want to share something. I see that Yetter's out there saying that she didn't like it at all. So I'm going to go back to like some of the things that we have been taught, and I think we've all been taught these things. And it's like the pressure. So in sales, you hear people talk about making the sales and then the closing, right? And then there's 100 different ways to close. And I think what most people walk away with, the reason why they don't like sales, is a sense of defeat, right? Because that's what we've been taught, right? We've been taught this high pressure, way of selling, quote unquote. And when we go out there and then we don't make the sale because we're not making connection, then we like, oh my gosh, I failed at it. I'm no good at it. And then we start telling ourselves all of these things. But one of the things that I've learned, I'm going to piggyback on what you just shared. When you allow yourself to genuinely connect, right, with people and learn more about them and sincerely, and that's why I talk about serving all the time, right? So how in the world can we serve? Like, how do we go out there and do it to the best of our ability and remove all of our personal desires and angst and all of that stuff and really show up, for someone, okay? And I started to pay attention to that. And what was interesting, not only did it allow me to connect with the right people,
Right.
but I also realized that I didn't need a million people. I just needed the right one.
Now you're making a point, because this is the other thing about storytelling and relationship building through story. And if you really get this, it is a game changer.
Yeah.
So when I used to do the salesy thing
Mhm.
and learn all the stuff, I would have someone who bought a product or a service.
Yes.
And I want to make this distinction.
Mhm.
They'd buy a product or a service, but they'd also price shop. They'd also compare me
Yes.
to different people. And they were interested in, were they getting the best
Yes.
deal?
Yes.
When I switched to storytelling, and I talk about it as enrollment and engagement
Yeah.
through story. When I switched to storytelling and enrolled and engaged through story, what began to happen was I started creating a following.
Yeah.
And I started creating a tribe. And what was interesting was I had these people that started following me. And I just got a message the other day, someone in Messenger who's a tribe member, and she said, Suzanne, I'm putting my money together.
Mhm.
I'll be back because you are my coach. You're my
Yeah.
person. I've been following you.
Yeah.
I just onboarded a client who said, I've been following you for a year and a half. I saw an interview that you did, and I decided then that you were my person. And the moment I was ready, I would call you. And so what begins to happen is you start to create this following of people who are in it on a journey with you.
Yes.
And I have people that are saying, I'm hooking my cart to your wagon. I'm not going anywhere. You're going to have to get rid of me. I'm doing everything you do. It became a totally different conversation because this is the difference. It was a different type of sale. It was a relationship sale where enrollment happened and people saw massive possibility for themselves. Then there was a product conversation.
Yeah.
And so when you start doing it from that perspective, it becomes a magical process. And you end up creating a tribe of people who are committed to you, but also committed to each other.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like-minded people. Like I'm like, those are my people. My people are first to arrive, last to leave, get her done, overworked. Like they are that tribe of people who are looking to create harmony in their life. They're looking to create, I don't like the word balance, so I use harmony. They're looking to be unstoppable, yet have it all. I have that group of people. And they know each other and they know themselves and they see me and they go, that's my person. That is the difference.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. Because like I said, I could remember the time in my business where things felt like a revolving door. Okay. And it felt like a revolving door because I sat, just on the side, of the product. And like you said, people will be like, oh, okay, I could get this cheaper. Or even sometimes when you start working, with them, the minute something happens, right, that's a little off course or not what they expected, I found that they were very quick, to leave, go, whatever. And I was just like, why is this happening? Okay.
Yeah.
That's because I didn't have the right people.
Well, I think the other part is that please remember that we connect through story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and when we have an exchange of story, it's a very non-threatening way to get to know each other.
Yeah.
I share a story which opens the door for someone else to be vulnerable and attempt to share a little piece of themselves. I share another story, opens a door for them to continue to share.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is you're building a deeper relationship that ends up having a level of loyalty to it. Because when you can hold the space,
right.
If I can hold the space for someone to be vulnerable,
yes,
for them to feel not judged, for them to feel I got you, We're going to journey this together. And also that you can tell me what you need to tell me and I'll still be here.
Yeah.
When you can create a space for someone, when someone feels like you understand me, it becomes a different sort of thing.
It is.
And so when we talk about story, it's not transactional anymore.
Mhm.
It's relational.
Yeah.
Relational. And it becomes a very different type of engagement. So, so I want to talk a little bit about, because we kind of went around the answer to that question, but I really want to talk about what, like where in the story is the sale. And this is the key thing I want everyone to know. Most people, when they take the stage, when they're presenting, they love to present their perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for myself, that was it. When I took the stage, I was going to present the best of Suzanne, polished together, articulate, and I was going to look good. When I was told to share my real story and all the stuff, the vulnerability, the pain, all that stuff, I was like, no, we're not doing that. However, when I began to share my journey and the pain of my journey, this is where the sale occurs. Because people are inspired. And if you know someone, put such and such inspires me in the comments. So their name, and they inspired me through their story. Because this is what happens. When we see someone struggle, get knocked down, unsure what to do, fight to get back up, go through the journey of learning, growing, transformation, and sticking to it, they inspire us. And when not only do they move from the victim of a situation to the hero in their life. And if they can turn around and be the guide, you're like, oh. And so when we tell story, it's the moment I'm not willing to be the victim anymore. Enough is enough. We rise up, we put on our superhero cape for ourselves. We become the hero in our lives. Then we go on a journey of change, transformation, and lessons. And it is the moment we say, I can now guide you. Because I have learned some lessons that I know someone needs to know. That right there is the sale. But you see, that sale can't happen without you saying, I was once a victim of a situation, right? I was struggling. I even was having my pity party, whatever it is. Then I drew a line in the sand and said, enough's enough. Then I decided to go on a journey. I rose, and now I can turn around and teach what I have learned. I have the experience. It is that process that lives in a story when you learn to tell it right that has people go, oh, wow, you inspire me. Oh my goodness, you've enrolled me in what's possible. Oh, you're my person. You're my guide. You have influenced me to do different. Notice the language: inspire, influence, enrollment, different type of language. That is where the sale lives. And when I started studying sales, I'd say people go from presentation to registration. And they forget connection,
right?
And they forget enrollment. And if you can't connect and enroll, your presentation lands flat, and registration is now hard. And now you're like, will I close the sale? It becomes all about the sale. Totally different process. So in the middle of every story, when you learn to tell it properly, there's this beautiful sales process that is so natural, so elegant, and so relational.
Yeah, and you said something that I have to go back once again, whole process, right? You said something, being able to move from the victim to the guide. And a lot of times, and I had to learn this too. So I didn't realize how I sat in victim.
Wow.
In my business. Okay.
Tell.
So it's all of the tough experiences that we go through
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Right.
Okay. And like you said, the ability to be vulnerable. So there was a lot of stories, a lot of things that I did not want to share because I didn't want people to see me as the person who, oh my gosh, you went through that. How can you possibly take me through this? I don't want to work with you. You don't know what you're doing. Right.
Mhm.
And so it's like I kept all of that stuff,
Yeah.
inside. But something else also happened or was happening that I had to pay attention to. So as I was operating,
Mhm.
as the victim of circumstances, in business, in the experience, I started to attract more victims.
Ooh.
Okay. And so like any of you can identify, like you have some clients that are still stuck in victim mode. And then you're like, it's that thing, you clash all the time.
Like and a like attracts like. Right?
Yeah. And but you don't realize that it's you. Right. And that's the thing. And it wasn't until once again, I started to do the work on unpack it. And then take a look at, oh my gosh, some healing needs to happen here, right? Some mindset work needs to be done here. Some shifting needs to be done here, okay? And it's all part of the experience and all part of the journey. And the minute I started to, communicate that, and show that, I've been there, but not only have I been there, I'm not there anymore. This is how I came through. Mm-hmm. And this is how I could help you. And I show up in a different way. I'm not showing up as the victim anymore. Yeah. My conversations aren't laced, with victimhood. That's a word, victimhood.
Yeah. And this is a thing, because I can totally relate to what you're saying. And this is so good. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we're saying with one hand, come and join me. Mm-hmm. And then with the other hand, we're saying, but back off. Yeah. Right. And so imagine sitting in a sales process and the person who's trying to engage and enroll you is saying, oh yeah, I got the best product, come and join me, but don't get too close to me because you can't see what's really going on. Yes. And we don't say it, but energetically, we are giving the world that message. And it's when I know for myself, I kept great distance between people and myself because I was committed to looking good. And it wasn't until I started doing my own work and I started unpacking my own journey and unpacking my own stories and processing it. And when I processed it, it became okay to share. Yeah. Because I wasn't hiding out because you've done the work to be healed. And I've grown. Yeah. And I didn't need to hide out anymore. Yeah. So rather than hide out, I began to share, enroll, and engage. And people were like, suddenly it was like everybody going, oh my goodness, me too. Oh, I'm so grateful you shared that. I was hoping someone would tell me. People are like, I felt so alone in that. So this is the power of story. And that's when the sale happens. When you have people going, that's me. Yeah. That's where I am. I can so connect with that. And you're able to say, but let me show you the lessons. Because it's one thing to connect in the pain. Yeah. The magic is when you can say, I get you. Let me show you what's available. And by the way, I know how to get you there. And that is a perfect storytelling process that I love to teach, that we love to teach. I teach it from a speaking perspective. Tria teaches it from a storytelling on social media, so written and video. And it really is around becoming engaging, right? Yeah. So, I could talk about this all day. But, people need to go home and eat dinner and all that wonderful stuff. So how can speaking increase people's income? And I know we've touched on it in a few ways, but give some concrete ways that you want to share?
So the first thing I want to share is, once again, going from a one-on-one model
Yeah.
to a one-to-many model.
Right.
And so I know if you are an entrepreneur out there, the last year and a half has showed all of us that the thing that we need to do more of is speak. And if you are not speaking on stages, you need to be live stages, you need to speak more on virtual stages, because once again, this is how we get our message out into the marketplace. And then we also attract those people that we're called to serve. So if you're out there still thinking like, no, hiding out, I talk about the hiding out all the time. So no, it's okay. My business is going to be based on referrals, and I'm just going to wait until someone gives me a referral. I'm not knocking referrals. They're still the most awesome thing that you could get, right? But you have to be able to leverage that power of the one-to-many.
Right. And I'll tell you, when you understand one-to-many, you'll understand the power of a different level of referrals, right? Mm-hmm. So it is really the one-to-many. I think the other thing that I didn't understand until I took the stage was when I took the stage and I shared my story, it was like credibility instantly rocket. And so this is the reason why people believe that experts take the stage. People believe that experts show up in front of the room. And I remember Jimmy Smith saying, the person who owns the front of the room owns the city. And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful, but is it true? Then I started speaking, and instant credibility began to happen. So there's particularly when we're starting out, credibility is a huge thing. So it is developing it by putting yourself out there and sharing your expertise, your services, your journey, and suddenly credibility begins to happen.
So I want to talk about that for just a minute. So one of the things that you just said, the person who owns the front of the stage owns the city. And this is the thing that I want everyone to consider. Consider building your own stage and owning your own stage.
Right.
And this is the opportunity that's available to us. So we have things out there that we could do, live video, right? And this is one of the things, like I said, was not a fan of video, was not a fan of speaking, but
she is now.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I got over very quickly, in my business. Like, this is the opportunity, for me once again to get my message out into the marketplace, get it out different platforms, attract more people. So it's not even just about waiting to be invited to a stage. You have the opportunity to create your own stage. You have the opportunity to build credibility faster.
Right. And I want to talk about powerful messaging because, storytelling from a big stage and storytelling on video, storytelling through social media is actually magical. And so there is this thing about, really crafting a magnetic message. And a magnetic message is really your brand story. And really practicing and honing it in. And, we have a group of people. I see Patricia that's out there. I was working with Peggy today, Peggy Dunn. There's these people that work with us to craft a magnetic message. And what we mean by a magnetic message is to take the time to learn how to tell your story in such a way that you're speaking into the listening of the people who are looking for you. So the other part about this is being able to put a magnetic message into the marketplace. And sometimes you'll think no one's listening. And I remember when Tria first told me I was going to get visible consistently and persistently on social media. I was like, honey, really every week. What was interesting was I would have lives, and we have people that show up. But what I didn't know was all the other people that were listening that I didn't see, that never commented, that never said anything on my lives, but they were watching. And I will say to you that I would say 80% of the clients that I have and we have never commented. Yet they've watched.
And it's one of those things that, out of the blue, someone will reach out to you and say, hey, I saw that you did this. I saw this conversation, or I saw this video. And you're like, oh, when? And then, if you're anything like me, I go back and I look at the comments and I'm like, that person didn't comment visibly,
No.
on the video.
Absolutely.
Right? But so it's a thing that I say all the time when it comes to, social media, especially. What's the experience that we're creating?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times the experience happens before we even know
Right.
that the experience happens. People are experiencing us before we know.
Mhm.
So the question becomes like, what are you going to create? What is it that you're putting out there? And I can still remember the time when you called me and said, oh my gosh, this person just called me to do a training. Right. And what they did was they went back through your video library,
Right.
and they saw, all of your conversations, your messaging. And so they knew from what you were putting out that you were the person that they needed to connect with. And it's so amazing when that happens.
It is. It is. And when we talk about powerful messaging, it is really, I remind myself that powerful messaging is what I put into the marketplace when I don't think anyone's listening.
Yes.
My brand is what I put out into the marketplace when I actually think no one's listening. That's photos, that's videos, that's written content. It's all those different things. But this is the piece. Working on my messaging and being intentional about my messaging and who my messaging is for is really a time. It's really taking the time to do it, taking the time to cultivate it, taking the time to be intentional. And I tell people that's what it means to be professional.
Yeah.
That's what it means to be intentional about what you're putting into the marketplace. There's this conversation about deliberate practice and mental representation. And what they say is that the successful people have a clear vision of what comes out of their mouth and what they do and who they be. And they do it in a systematic way, which is messaging, so that it lands consistently. And we wonder, how are they so sticky? Well, they didn't get sticky by flying by the seat of their pants. They got sticky by being very intentional about what they put into the marketplace, being consistent, but also being transparent and being vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's one of the things. So I know everyone out here are super achievers can identify where we're building a brand. Right. And brands, don't just pop out, of anywhere. Your branding is not your logo, it's not your colors, it's not your website, it's not the cute graphics or anything like that. Your branding is actually the messaging that you put out into the marketplace. So like you said, like when people, come across your brand or people see you, what do you want them to think? What do you want them to say? What is it that you want them to know about you?
How do you want them to feel?
Or how do you want them to feel? And all of that. And so that's one of the things you talk about, knowing who your people are, and for me is like, knowing that, my people, they know that they have a message. They know that they are called to serve.
Absolutely.
Okay? And it's like doing what it takes to make sure that you are building your brand the right way and understanding that it does take time. It is being consistent, and it's how to show up. I say it all the time, how to show up powerfully and how to show up consistently. Like how to shine. Like how do you actually just go out there and shine?
So Tria, what are people saying? What are you saying? Since you're the guest in Canada, you get to like.
So now you're gonna put me on the spot because I can't see that far. So I see Cindy is out there. Cindy is saying, hello ladies. Hi Cindy, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Yetta is out there saying no longer showing up as a victim. So Yetta is no longer in victimhood.
Heck no.
I love it.
Not this woman.
And then Yetta is also saying branding growth is a lifelong adventure. 32 years into our adventure and learning lots about congruent, consistent branding messages from these two ladies. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Suzanne and Turia. Thank you so much, Yetta. And I love it because that's what it's all about, is being congruent, being consistent, and then having your messaging and getting your messaging out into the marketplace.
You know, Tria, I got to give Yetta and Ken a shout out because I had the privilege of hanging out with them on the weekend and we worked on their messaging. This is a couple that have been in business for like 30 years plus, possibly.
Don't they have an awesome story?
Oh my goodness. They have a story that is like chapter one. It's a story. And I got so excited because the story is so rich. The story has so much that they've overcome. And why I love to see this story, and I can't wait till they drop this new chapter into the marketplace. Because when you see this couple, they're a power couple. They're highly successful. We're talking successful. And oftentimes when you see a couple like that, the powerhouse power couple, you think, oh, well, they were probably always like that. Not so much. And so what's going to be beautiful is to see all the things that they were required to overcome, how they were required to gel, how they were required to learn and grow together. I can't wait till they reveal it because I know there are other couples, partnerships, individuals that want what they have but need the guide. And when you hear this story, you're going to say, oh my goodness, these two people, this couple, they're my guide. And that can only be done through story because people know what they do. They've been doing it for decades. However, who they became on the journey is going to be fantastic when it's revealed. So stay tuned.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting that you said that, right? It's like my very first time that, you know, my very first encounter with Yetta, and she started to share her story. I know one of the things that I said to her is like, oh my gosh, mind blown. Had I known this, you know, like 10 years ago, my life would have probably been a whole lot different. Right. And so that's what it's, you know, that's what it's all about, is being able, you know, to share that story and have that connection.
And at that point, you actually didn't really know what she did.
Yeah, right. But it's because of the story that made me want to get to know her. And then once, you know, I started to learn, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a person that I just need to be connected to.
And you know, this is the interesting thing, because when I met Yetta, I went out to a presentation brought out by a friend. I left and messaged her, and it was a story that they opened the event with that I was like, dang, I need to know this woman. And then I ended up having the privilege of meeting her husband, and it, you know, it's been like gangbusters ever since. But it wasn't what they did. I actually at that time didn't really know what they did. I just knew who they be and how they show up. And then the journey begins. And that's really such a great place to close out this live, right? Is to see it in someone else. And so I said, ooh, they're going to be my guides. And so we're on a journey, right? And so I'm on my real estate investing journey because I was looking for mentors that really knew, but I could trust them. I could feel like they understood what my concerns were. And it was not the reason we came together. We came together because I liked them. And I knew they were my people. And now they're my mentors and coaches. That's the magic. So we're in our storytelling month. So stay tuned, because in a week or so, we'll be dropping some information about our upcoming event. We have a free showcase for you, magnetize and monetize your message on the virtual or live stage. And we're going to break this down further. So if you want to bring your messaging to a new level, if you want to touch people and have the communication and presentation skills like highly successful people do, if you want to enjoy networking, and be able to enroll people in all sorts of possibilities.
Yeah.
If you want a Rolodex of relationships versus leads,
There you go.
you want to join us on this journey.
I think we're going to have to coin that. That's going to have to be a hashtag. Hashtag Rolodex of relationships.
Yes.
I love that.
Right? That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what we're about. And we're going to show you the pathway to do it, because we've both done it wrong.
Yeah.
And we've been on the journey to doing it, making our best better. And we're going to show you what we've learned along the journey. So you want to be in the room. We'll be doing a few of them. So we're excited to bring that to you. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay abreast. We'll be dropping the information shortly. What's the date that things will come live?
We are starting our promotions on Monday, September 13th. And actually the first webinar is on September 23rd, Thursday. So look out. Everything will be coming out, rolling out next week. But if you would like us to go ahead and inbox you personally, just go ahead and drop a me into the comment section, and we will make sure that you get your special invitation.
Ooh, special
invitation. Yes. Okay. So if you would like your special invitation, just go ahead and drop a me into the comment section and just let us know, and then you will be the first on the list.
Wow. So I'm excited. This was fun.
Yes, it
So-
always is fun.
Absolutely. So I've been sitting down with my girl, social media strategist, Taria Hodge. She is hanging out for her first time north of the US border in beautiful Canada, Eastern Canada. She's going to go visit some friends. We're going to do some work. We're going to do some photos. It's going to be a fun time. I'm just so excited you're
I'm
here.
excited to be here as well.
So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in with us this evening. This was Unstoppable Mindset. This is where we provide breakthrough strategies to help you reset your thinking. Our focus this month is storytelling mastery. We will be bringing you some really cool guests. We're going to be talking to some of our students who are beginning to crush it in front of the camera. They're going to talk about their journey. They're going to talk about how their confidence has boosted, but they're also going to talk about insights that they had about themselves that are really rocking their world and really moving their business. So stay tuned, get ready, because we're going to bring you some really interesting guests. We had Mr. Kai Husband, the serial innovator last week. And we're going to bring you a few really cool people. We might add a few to our roster. So as we part, Taria, thank you so much for this beautiful presentation. Please know you're brilliant. Please know you're special. And understand why we do this is because the world is waiting for you to put your unique message into the marketplace. Blessings. See you next week. Take care.